So give one more minute until 6:31, then I'm going to call to order.
Okay.
By the grace of God, our school board voted for us to work from home on the 23rd. So, which is in line with partner schools,
Yeah.
and I'm glad that I can work from home.
Okay. Well, 6:31, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, and I'm going to roll call Molly Garjoya
Here.
and Ben Wynn.
Here.
Andrew Franklin here. I find that we have a quorum and meeting was noticed, so I am going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda item 1C. Their motion.
So moved.
Their second.
I'll second.
On a voice vote, please signify by saying aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries. Item 2, celebrations.
That was Mr. Beckman.
Okay.
But we could jump to B if you're okay with that.
If there's no objection, let's go
No,
to
let's
B.
move to B.
Yes.
Yes. Miss Pennington Cross.
Oh.
Yes.
I don't have the agenda in front of me. Does that
PTO and
mean-
foundation update.
Sure, I can do a PTO update too if you would like.
That'd be great. Should I switch with? So you're on camera?
Yeah, all right, come on. I mean, Danielle's not here too, so, but yeah.
Oh,
It would just make sense if somebody's
I didn't know
watching.
I'd be on camera.
Sorry.
Check my makeup. Okay, so I'm gonna report on the PTO and foundation for you guys. I'm looking at my phone because that's where my notes are. Secret gift shop, super successful. I don't know if any of you went by it. It was a completely different format this year. They set up timed slots that you could sign up for. There was not a single line. If you ever went to one of them, you know, it was like a mosh pit. There was no line. The room itself was very quiet because there were only a few kids in it at any time. We had plenty of volunteers from the middle school and high school. It was an incredible event and really successful in terms of fundraising. The book fair that Athena Vogelopoulos runs had a banner year, set a record for sales because again, it was just quieter. You know, there wasn't just people bumping elbows with each other. So my hope is we're just gonna keep on with the new method. And I just want to give a huge shout out to Melanie Hinchy, who's the president, Sherry Purdy and Lindsay Trigg, who are officers of the PTO. They're doing this incredible job this year, adjusting events around COVID needs, and just everything has been really successful. On the foundation front, I think I may have mentioned last time, we have Spring Fling officially scheduled for May 13th at the Bavarian Beer House.
What's the date?
May 13th, if I had that right. Let's check. It should be a Friday. Yep, May 13th. We don't have a final time yet. Jill Geller, our incredible vice president who is running the event, has resigned because she's just too busy with other things. So I'm really thankful for all the work she's done. And now we have to find new people to run that. So if you know any volunteers, board members, please send them to me. We had a meeting last night. Our trustees have been talking with Lindsay and Allison about possibly fundraising to purchase a van for the district. One that's all inclusive with a wheelchair lift, and that could be used for special events.
Excuse me, you said for what? I didn't hear the
Van,
phrase for.
V as in Victor. A van that, you know, for instance, if we weren't able to get a bus to go to cross country, could be used for that. Or if, say, you know, a teacher had a special event or a visit to make to a venue, you know, I don't know, to an office, to a doctor, whatever it is, that it would be available for that. So,
I think of a lot of good uses that might come from that.
yeah, and Nancy Kapinski, one of our trustees, has our fundraising tagline. Our kids are going places.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, so we're just finalizing that. Lindsay's working really hard to get us some numbers on what it would cost and evaluate how much we can raise versus how much the district might be able to pay. So we're working on it.
Okay.
That's all I got.
I love that Secret Santa. Well, it used to be Secret Santa, and I just loved it as a parent of a single parent of a child. He could go back and go in and shop And I always appreciate the volunteer and the person or people who had to house all of those gifts in their home. So thank
And
you
the,
for continuing to do that.
The middle school and high school volunteers are amazing.
Yeah,
It's just really neat to see that connection across ages.
I love it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Okay.
you.
All right, we're gonna jump back to 2A, and I guess,
Jump back in about 7 minutes. She'll be here, she's running a little late.
okay. Then 2C, school spotlight.
So that would be Mr. Westfall giving us giving us an update on the Concordia literacy. So I'd just like to stay in my space.
Hi, everyone. So I'm just gonna give a little update on the partnership that we have with Concordia University. So we're starting a literacy lab, a tutoring center that's gonna be housed in the, down below in the basement of Glen Hills School. We're starting tutoring dates, Tuesdays and Thursdays. That'll be running after Parkway School lets out. So the timing, we're still working on that because we're working on some busing around that to kind of take away some barriers for students so parents don't have to drive kids to Glen Hills after Parkway. So we can have busing right to Glen Hills. We are going to do a training for all our tutors. So right now we're looking at teachers and trying to get some teacher interest around this. So far, we've had some really good interest. We're also going to have students from Concordia University come out, and they're going to be doing the tutoring sessions as well. And this will kind of be under the guidance of Dr. Witt from Concordia, myself, and then also the literacy coaches are supporting the work as well. And we are also looking at some funding. So we're doing some work around that. So I'm working with Dr. Moser and Dr. Witt, and we're currently writing a DBI grant to help support this in the future. So we're starting slow this year, looking at 2 days a week and doing it from February 7th through April 28th. And then attendance will be based on student need and then how many staff members we have working in. Okay, so I'll give you another update when it gets a little closer. But a good start.
Thanks, Jenica.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so item 2A then, we still need to, then I guess, could I just get, for the sake of clarity, could I get a motion just to adjourn item 2A? Move it past new business, for example?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Then we are on to, actually figure out what happened. My agenda, there we go. So, over here too. Then we are on to the new business item number 3A, approval of equity committee facilitators proposal.
All right, so you guys got a copy of the revised proposal, which was the first 3 steps in the process that we discussed at last month's meeting that was sent over. So basically for this item, I'm just making a recommendation that the board approve these first 3 steps in this new proposal to get the equity committee work started.
Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Okay. Is there any discussion on the proposal?
No, I just thought it was real clear and they had, I appreciated what they were going to do. I appreciated the dollar amount and it was pretty easy to understand.
Okay. I just want to say, I mean, I think that this is a step in the right direction. There's some more information here. I think that what we really need to do, we need to recognize that a lot of hard work's gone into this, that Danielle and Tamika have spent a lot of effort. And we're trying to go, you know, in terms of first steps toward, you know, really having a productive approach towards equity. So I appreciate the fact that you guys put that work into it. I appreciate the fact that you went out and got proposals and that after comments last meeting, worked on trying to own more details. So given what we have here, I think it's a really good start. So, with that, Lauren, did you have anything? Tamika, did you have anything? Then I will ask for a roll call. I'll ask for a voice vote unless someone wants a roll vote, but on the approval of the equity committee facilitators proposal, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion carries. Okay. Item 3B, recommendation to change spring parent-teacher conferences.
So this was brought to the finance and personnel and finance meeting. Based on basically just the way the calendar was set up last year. I didn't catch this in the fall, or I probably would have been making a recommendation then. But the original setup for conferences is teachers are teaching a full day, then they have conferences all night, then they're coming in the next day and teaching a full day, and then conferences all night again, and then the third day is a day off with conferences in the morning. So that middle piece of having students all day after a late night was really trying for staff. And typically it's not set up that way. So looking to make an adjustment for spring. So the impact for families would be that Thursday, March 10th would now be an early release day. And it's currently a full day for students. So that would be the only calendar impact. And what that would do then is we would be able to release Parkway at 11:45, release Glen Hills at 12:15. We talked to busing, they could do that. And then Parkway would have parent-teacher conferences that Thursday from 12:30 to 7:30. Glen Hills would have conferences from 1 to 8. And then that Friday would be exactly what it is now, where it's a morning of conferences, but that way you would alleviate having a full day of students after a full night of conferences. So, like I said, the only impact for families would be at changing that Thursday, March 10th to an early release.
So it's not Wednesday, Thursday anymore?
No.
It's just 7 hours.
And then 4 hours on Friday.
Are there any issues with making up that time?
No, we have the minutes too.
Okay.
And so if we adjust that, we have the minutes to do that and still have 2 built-in snow days.
Sounds good.
And then the Friday, though, the teachers get to go home after that.
Yes.
They don't have any work responsibilities.
Correct, yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, then, is there a motion? I don't think we have one on the table to accept the recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
And on a voice vote, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Item 3C, approval of license waiver for 21-22.
Okay, so as you know from last year, there were several waivers that DPI provided for districts around flexibility due to COVID and the pandemic and all of those pieces. The waiver that we attached and that we were looking to apply for is around staff licensure. Because of the staffing shortage, we have some staff currently who are not all done with all of their schooling. We've had a chance to connect with staff, they're on track. So it's not something we would need after this year, but in order to make sure that we're in compliance, because we have to go into Y staff and there's, you have to match staff with licensure for DPI. So this waiver would help us this year be able to have that flexibility, which is a waiver they're providing for all districts in the state just because of the staffing shortage. Lindsay, I don't know if you want to talk a bit to the audit piece.
So we had our audit for 2021, and one of the things
Pull
that,
it down a little bit while you talk. I can't hear you.
Yeah.
so we had our audit for 2021, and one of the things that came out of the audit was our licensing for special ed. So one of the steps that I had to tell our auditors is that we had a process in place to ensure that our staff is licensed and meeting all of the requirements. So we don't have a finding next year as well. And so we've just put a couple things in place to make sure that we're looking and making sure everybody has the licensure that they need. And then this waiver kind of gives us a year to make sure that like a couple people had a couple classes they had to finish, that gives us that time so we don't get another finding in our audit as well.
So what are the processes that you had to put in place to make sure everyone had the proper license?
So one of the processes is when we hire new staff, we're having a checklist of what are the things that we're making sure we have, like their resume, their licensure. We're looking on DPI, and Karen has been amazing about also putting everything into Skyward as well. So we're able to make sure and we have everybody listed, and then we can also run a report in Skyward. So it's like if somebody has an expiration date, we'll be able to pull that report and see it right away. So just that checklist of onboarding to make sure we have the license is one of those required things. So we don't close out their file of onboarding them until we know we've checked everything with it.
And in the meantime, for this year, it was a really small handful. So we just had personal meetings with each person to see where they were, see how on track they were, and make sure that they're going to be good to go for next year.
Is there a motion with respect to the recommendation?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll ask for voice vote. Please signify by saying aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Okay, item 4 is the consent agenda. Item A is approval of financials. Item B is approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the consent items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second? And on voice vote, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Item number 5A, discussion.
So we just want,
Passer survey,
sorry.
sorry. Yeah.
I should probably wait.
No, I apologize, my fault.
So if you're on the communications committee, you have a little bit more detail on this, but I know we also brought it to all of you around a couple surveys that we were doing. One of them is just the communication survey. The other was the ESSER survey, because we have a requirement to survey all stakeholders. We had amazing participation, so we just wanted to give you an update. The person that we're working with in the Donovan group hasn't finished analyzing all the data, but that's part of the work they're going to do for us, and then come back to us with those reports so that we can look and see what did parents want, what did staff want, like what were the things. So basically, we asked the community, what do you want us to use our ESSER dollars for? Some of the questions were around curriculum. Some of the questions were around like after school programs, summer school, COVID mitigation strategies. So there are all the different categories. So we just wanted to share that we had really great participation. We had 239 responses from caregivers or parents. We had 6 labeled as extended family members. We had 7 students, which was kind of fun. 5 community members, about 50 teachers, 10 support staff, and then 3 that noted as other. But so that was a really strong survey response. We were really happy with that, and we're excited to dig in and see what people are hoping that we allocate those funds for, and having that feedback to move forward with our ESSER plan.
Is there any further question?
When are the funds released? Do they have a timetable for that?
So they're hoping to release ESSER 3 funds, probably within the next couple weeks. One of the big things that happened in the last week was it got vetoed for the supplemental part of ESSER 3. So ESSER 3 is kind of still in flux, but ESSER 2 we have. But the survey that we had to do for the stakeholders was for ESSER 3.
Okay, thank you.
Then, does anyone else have anything to add? Seeing nothing, then item 5B is consideration of the 2022 WASB resolutions. And I think that perhaps well, actually, I don't know if you want to introduce it, but I know that Ms. Woodward probably has something to say.
That's her packet too.
I mean, as our delegate.
I got this email, but that's
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
I wasn't sure, so I wanted to bring it.
Yeah,
forward.
they sent it. I think we have a school board meeting
But we do.
before.
Mhm.
If I'm not mistaken, I thought I looked and saw that we had a school board meeting before.
You were right, the 19th.
And then this is, and then the committee or hearings are after that, the council. I think you should really look into it and read these. I am questioning some stuff, but I want to look back on. And since we just got some of the stuff the other day, I don't want to speak on it yet. But what ends up happening with these things is very interesting. Things that are in the best interest of our school usually gets bogged down unless I have to get up there and stand up and give an argument about it, because they look at schools that are in the suburbs as just as big as urban or rural schools. And a lot of times we do align with the bigger school districts when it comes to, special needs funding, stuff like that. So give me arguments on the stuff. I will get up, I will argue it. I've done it for the last 3 years. I got 1 turned over out of 400 people. That was a lot, but these really do make a difference, and especially what's going on with WASB right now. I think there's some underlying stuff that's just not quite where it should be, and I think we're gonna get a update or a talking to in February, which is after the convention, but to get more, and I also reached out to Mr. What's his name? John, the ED of the WASB.
Oh, John Bales.
No, black guy. Such an A.
Ashley.
Thank you. Couldn't get John Ashley, and we've had a very colorful conversation because he thought that we shouldn't be concerned about some of the things that WASB is doing because we have money, or supposedly we have money. So please look at those because those are super important and they'll dictate what the lobbyists fight for. And sometimes we don't want the lobbyists to fight for, or if you see anything where you see a word needs to be added or something like that, give it to me because I will do it on full.
Okay. Wait, when is this is at the, okay.
The convention, yeah.
Got it, okay. So this is the 20th? Is that the?
I can't remember.
Okay. I'll look at it before then.
Hold on, it's usually that Monday, I think it's the 24th.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah, because the 18th, I think it's the 20th, 21st. Starts on the 19th with some stuff, but I believe that meeting is on the 20th. But we'll figure it out one way or another. And if it is before our meeting, I think we should have just maybe a Zoom call discussion on call a meeting on discussion if we see any problems. Because they do lobby for these things and sometimes they're detrimental to what we do and what our philosophy is as a school district.
Okay. All right, anyone else?
And I promise I will not embarrass her back. Oh yeah, here it is. We won't have a school board meeting because the convention, the delegate convention, the delegate meeting is at 1:30 on Wednesday the 19th. So yeah, so we might have to have just like a Zoom call if we see anything. If no one sees any flags, we can just send an email out and I'll tell you what I flagged, because I saw 2 things that I wanted to flag, but if it's no big deal, then we'll just let people know.
By the way, I just was wondering, besides Zoom, and of course I have, is everyone else going to be attending? Is anyone else able to?
Well, no, we both have final exams that week.
I believe Daniel is.
It is hard when it's right in the middle of the week and to be
They
here.
do it every time during exams. A lot of the
I think Daniel's going.
All right. Well, then,
Would you mind sharing the ones that, like, because I'm just curious, I'd like to dig in more. to
well, what
those.
I do is I
mean, not now, but.
No,
just
no,
at
but
some
what
point.
I do is I listen, I read them, I get angry, and then I have to bring it down a little bit. So I try not to write or do anything at that moment because I'm doing it with emotion and I need to really think about the district. So I read them. One is I'm really hot about, but I gotta sit back and think district wise, not what am I doing, but what is our district. And I think you're smiling, and I think you probably know which one I'm talking.
That's what I'm wondering.
okay. Well, then, item 5C, Nicolay Partner Schools update.
So just wanted to give, so we meet every month, obviously, and then we decide what we're gonna share out. So there were just 2 items just to share. One is they're working on the 23-24 calendar. And that again is just holidays, when the first day of school is, that partner day. So it's just really that outline for the family calendar. We're planning on bringing that to the board in January because families already have the 22-23 family calendar. So they can plan for next year. So it's not super urgent, but just making sure things like the day before Christmas don't happen again, so that we're all aligned and we have the same breaks and everything. So we're working on making sure that that is consistent. And then the other piece is, I mentioned to you that there was a desire from the board president and Nicolay to potentially schedule some sort of a retreat or conversation. It's still like, it was just an idea thrown out, so there's no details around it. I asked if we could wait till summer because it's just crazy right now, but just to talk about, curriculum and instruction and like, what are the values that or the criteria we see in a successful student, just to create some more alignment, especially between 8th and 9th grade. And so that was just a conversation that was put out as a possibility. Like I said, no details really around that. Just wanted to share that it was a thinking that was brought up to help ease transition for students from 8th to 9th grade. So that was it for the Nicolay Partner Schools update. The other big discussion was around buildings and grounds, which we're no longer going to be doing. So.
Okay. Well, I think, we can go back to item number 2A at this point. Mr. Beckman, I think we're going to defer to you.
Yes.
Please.
Hi, Lee.
I'll sit here for a second then I'll get the chair.
Please, why don't you both come and I'll move over.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mr. Franklin. And thank you for being flexible. Please,
Our pleasure.
I'm calendar challenged, so.
I email challenge, because I didn't put days and I put dates there. It doesn't matter. So, thank you anyway. I'm just going to introduce Lee Carey, who's the president of the Glendale Lions Club. A little bit about the Lions Club. I'm the past president, and I've been in the Lions for a long time. Lee has graciously been our president for the last 2 years, and she's got almost at the end of this term. We've been talking about, since the inception of the new club, doing something with a tree, and that's had a lot of conversation. So the tree ended up getting planted here, and while it doesn't require board approval because there's only $250, I thought it was appropriate because the Lions are always looking for items that they can help with. And the motto of Lions is, if there's a need, there's a lion. So it's the largest service organization in the world. So I'll turn it over to Lee, and she can tell you what we went through with the tree and where it is if you don't know.
I will tell you, one of our board members is going to be disappointed because the tree is not going to be on our meeting agenda anymore because we dealt with it. Because it has literally been an agenda item for over a year. So we wanted to donate a tree and we just didn't really know where to go. And so since Jim is on our past president, we reached out to him and he mentioned that Glen Hills had lost a fair amount of trees this last year. So it was great for us to step in and be able to donate a tree to the school. We, as Jim said, we're the largest service organization in the world, but our Glendale Club wants to focus locally. We really want to do things that are going to help Glendale. So as you become aware of things, we would love to hear where you need help, because that's what we want to do. But we're very, very happy to have a tree here, and hopefully we'll be able to do another one in the future.
And if anybody's interested in becoming a Lion, we have applications. It is not hard.
It's not hard. And actually our meetings are very enjoyable,
They are enjoyable.
other than the tree agenda.
Other than the tree, we moved on with the tree. But, we hope to do another tree next year. I shouldn't
Yes,
say that, but we hope
yes,
to do another
yes.
tree next year. So anyway, thank you for giving us time.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
the
you.
donation. I mean, honestly, it's wonderful. I'm glad your organization is strong.
Thank
I
you.
mean, what kind of tree was it? What's
It's a
the?
sugar maple, which is our state tree, and we replaced the maples, started to replace the maples on Mill Road.
Okay.
We lost like 11 of them.
It has a plaque on it, doesn't it?
Not
Not yet,
but
not
it will
yet.
have a little-
I know, agenda item, a new agenda.
I'm
item.
sure,
Thank you
I'll see
very
it in
much
the
for
spring when the
coming.
weather's a little
Thank
nicer.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And then with that, our next item is visitor participation, item number 6A. Visitors may speak on any non-agenda item at this time. They will under board policy, may limit the board's response. If anyone would like to say something, please just speak. And how are we going to do? Should we have them just stand in place? I forget how we did last one. Okay, if you can just stand, and tell us your name and address.
All right, Estrida Coker, 7007 North Rayburn Lane.
Glendale. I wanted to bring to the board, the administration, and the community's attention the Surgeon General's advisory report on youth mental health that was published on December 7th. And so the Surgeon General puts out advisories only when there are significant public health challenges that demand the nation's immediate awareness and action. So the fact that this was focused on youth mental health really says that this is an item that needs attention from everyone. I will forward you all the report after the meeting, but it's very helpful because it lays out that it's our collective responsibility to address this public health need. So that means that there are recommendations for individuals, for families, for schools, for communities, for healthcare, for media, for funders, for employers, for the federal, state, local, tribal governments. So this is everybody's responsibility. They have nice 2-page summaries for each of these audiences of what can be some recommendations. And so for the school recommendations, there are 8 of them, and I wanted to highlight just 3 of them. The first is learning how to recognize the signs of change in mental and physical health among students, including trauma and behavior changes. We know that educators are the first ones on the front lines that can be noticing these, and so they really highlight the importance of training staff in programs like youth mental health, trauma-informed care to make sure that they can be recognizing signs early. A second point is expanding the school-based mental health workforce, which we've been working on in our district for years, hiring more staff, such as school counselors, nurses, social workers, school psychologists. They specifically mentioned that ESSER funding can be used for this purpose, so I was glad to see that that was one of these need areas that were highlighted in the survey. And then the third recommendation I wanted to highlight is supporting the mental health of school personnel. We know that this year is taking a toll on everyone, but particularly teachers and staff members. They highlight having realistic workloads and student to staff ratios. So I just hope that those are 2 of the aspects that will be kept at the forefront as we think about how to support our staff. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have anything? Okay. Please stand up and please give your name and address.
Sure, Jordan Warner, 800 West Clover Lane. I've got a couple things. One, I'm wondering about the substitute teacher situation. I don't know, I'm on Teachers on Call, I'm a substitute for the district. Every day I'll get a early morning call. I do this, I try to do it once a week at least to help out the district. I have my own business, so when I do it, it's just trying to help everybody out. But it seems like, especially paraprofessionals, they tend to go unfilled often, from what I'm seeing at least. And I know that I see the kids that need the paraprofessionals, and either they're not getting an education that day, to whatever extent, or the staff is just stretched so thin that everyone's just getting a trickle. I'm just wondering if there is any plan to help increase that. I know that University School Milwaukee pays maybe $10 or $15 more a day. That puts them above all the other schools in this area. I think they're the only one. I'm not on their list, but I saw it when I first signed up. And I don't know, 10 or 15, if that does the trick, just something to consider. The other part was parent volunteers in the school. I was a substitute for a FIAD class at Parkway. We had a roller skating unit. And the first 10 minutes, I'm running around putting people's, skates and stuff on. And it's only a 30-minute class. So you really, it's just kind of like hit it and go. But I don't know where we're at with COVID policies. I think there's a pretty high percentage of vaccinations and there's masking. I think the CDC guidelines are anyone in school should be masked, and that's great. I'm all for that. But I'm wondering if there's a plan in place to bring parents back into the schools to help out volunteering or in any other capacity.
So currently, we're still just doing volunteers in spaces without students, and just the burden rate right now and the way numbers are in the community. I don't think we're comfortable changing it yet, but it's definitely something we hope to be able to get to. Because we miss it too.
Sure. Yeah.
All right, does anyone else have any other comments? Seeing none, I will ask for voice vote on last item, or a motion on last item, which is motion to adjourn. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Thank you for joining us this evening.